You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
All right, here we go. We're 12 days away from puck drop, and I tell you what, last night was a great delivery for a smorgasbord of NHL action. You got sort of a doubleheader. You got the Leafs-Habs game, then you got Vegas and Utah. It's Nick Alberga, Jay Rosehill, the Friday edition, the latest edition of Leafs Morning Take presented by Bet365. How we doing, Rosie?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 12 days. It's clicking away. Pretty good. Pretty nice little performance by the Maple Leafs last night, although we don't put too much stock into those games. But the particulars and some of the staff in that game was looking pretty sharp, which is great to see.
Can you explain this theme that is evolving league-wide right now in the preseason of these, I guess, like minor league rosters beating these major league rosters? Is there an explanation for that?
You got to think the only reason is those minor league guys and guys that, more than likely are not going to be on the roster are taking every opportunity to do everything within their power to show that they want to be in the NHL. And I mean, it's the highest stage they've ever been on. It is the biggest tryout they've ever had. It is the National Hockey League. It is their dream right there. And they're giving it everything, where those more NHL custom rosters are, maybe taking a twirl with some new skates and maybe just kind of thinking about getting their timing down a little bit, or just working on their game speed. And it's just two different dynamics, right? So while it doesn't make sense on paper when you get down to it, the guys' heads that know that they're on that roster are not as much in the game. And it has to do with that, I'm sure.
It has to be, and I'll be honest, I haven't really looked at the lines here in the preseason from a betting perspective, but I'd almost be inclined just to roll with the underdog every game, and I think extract enough value, because this happens every year. Like, if you look at those two rosters last night, there is no way Montreal should lose the way they did. Like, they got embarrassed. They didn't just lose. They lost 7-2, and the Maple Leafs' fourth line was the first line. The entire top six played for Montreal. Like, a lot of their studs played. Their number one goalie, like, probably not the way you want to play. And I know, the season's still 2 weeks away, but like, that was an emphatic win for the Maple Leafs, and it tells you a lot about the guys who played in that game. I love to see that.
Yeah, exactly. If it was the other way, we wouldn't put too much stock into it. But again, with the Scotty Lawton, we've been talking about him since he got traded here, and we gave up what we gave up for him. And when he got here, he wasn't playing his best, and I don't think people were too hard on him, but they were saying, man, this is not really what we signed up for. And he was the first one to say, I've got a lot better. This isn't what I had in mind. So he had a summer to reset. And, he's one of the guys that I'm watching to say, is he going to be impactful on this roster? And by all accounts, after last night, he is absolutely clicking with Steven Lorentz. And, they've got Cowboy Cowan in there beside them, and they were just dominant. And like you said, it wasn't against the AHL roster. It was that line against many of the heavy hitters for the Montreal Canadiens. So just a tidbit to take out of it is that that's a great sign. They're finding chemistry, and they look damn good out there.
Our Super Chat charity partner is Sick Kids. Want to make sure that your question or comment gets on the show, hit us up with a Super Chat. Proceeds from our Super Chat will go to Sick Kids, ranked the #1 research-intensive children's hospital in Canada and third in the world. It was funny. I spent a good chunk of my Thursday trying to track one James Reimer. I know some people who know him, texted him. Let's get him on Leafs Morning Take. What happens today? He signs a PTO with the Toronto Maple Leafs. A very nostalgic day, I'm sure, for Leafs fans, and for you specifically. You played with Reims.
Yeah, I should have reached out, told Reimer I didn't know you were grinding away at him. But funny how things work. He is on a PTO as of this morning with the Leafs. I think just a perfect scenario. People have been talking about Joseph Woll and his absence with a personal family matter. It does not appear to be a 1 or 2 day thing. It looks like he'll be absent for a little while. How long, I don't think anybody knows. But in the meantime, they're looking down the barrel of the season saying, what do we do? Do you go sign a guy like that? That's kind of tough. But here's James Reimer, a veteran player who's bounced around a little bit the last couple of years. He's been in Toronto. He started his career in Toronto and had a fair bit of success. So he knows the market. He knows what it's like to be there. I imagine it'll be a nice little blast from the past for him. And from the Maple Leafs perspective, it's simply a PTO. You can have him on that PTO, pay him as he goes, and see where things go. So it's kind of a perfect storm for everybody, to be honest. And it'll be exciting to see Reimer back in that Maple Leafs jersey, no matter what happens.
Of course, a former Maple Leafs draft pick. He played 6 seasons for the Maple Leafs and 2.85, 901, and 22 appearances last year with Buffalo. Played 2 games as well with the Anaheim Ducks. But I agree with you. I don't think it tips the hand as to how long they think Joseph Woll is going to be out. Like, you still have to play 3 more preseason games. It's not going to be Dennis Hilderby every game, folks, even though he's been a pretty nice story so far here in training camp. To bring in a veteran who knows the market, knows the city, knows the crowd, knows the fan base. Like, I like that. I just don't think it tips the hand as to what truly is going on right now. Like, it's just a PTO. They haven't signed it to anything, and you bring in a bit of, a veteran into the mix. Like, I don't see any issue with it at all.
Yeah, a capable veteran who's been around, and I think he'll slide in there for the situation just perfectly. Like we mentioned, 12 days away from puck drop. I don't want to speculate. I know you're not supposed to speculate, but I'm trying to think what type of family emergency could be at the hands of Joseph Woll that would keep him out for over 2 weeks. I'm not sure, but it sounds like they've got their bases covered now with this nice slip little PTO, which is great. That's a great thing about a PTO is it can be good for both parties, and nobody's committed to anything full term. So for this particular situation with the Leafs and Joseph Woll, it works out perfectly.
Here's a scenario. You start the season, Woll's not ready. Are you more inclined, if you're the Maple Leafs, to sign a veteran like James Reimer to play behind Anthony Stolarz, or would you go with Hilderby as the backup?
Yeah, it's tough to say. It'll be a decision if it comes down to that. Obviously, you want Hilderby to develop. You want to get him experience. He has looked good in preseason. On the other hand, it's tough to say who's a better shot. I mean, you're gonna ride Stoli a little bit more than maybe you would have otherwise once the regular season gets going, but you can't just play him and nobody else. So I guess it'll be good to get Reimer in there, get him some reps, get him in a preseason game or 2 and see what he looks like. And ultimately you just have to make that decision. What's best for the team? Having Reimer backing up Stoli / playing in the games when Stoli isn't there, having Hilderby. It's going to be an interesting situation because the one, like we said, is a veteran. He's capable. He's been in the market. He could potentially win you a couple games, but who's to say Hilderby can't do that as well? And if you could give him that opportunity as far as development, much better for your prospect. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't think they've made a decision on that. I don't even think he's in town. So we'll take the next 12 days to probably have that shake out, and they will have a decision to make, I'm sure, if Joseph Woll is in fact still away.
It's funny. Like, I can't remember the last training camp where we didn't talk about goaltending at all.
I know.
And this one is just a lot of the same. Like last year, the year before, remember the first game of the season, Woll doesn't show up, can't play that game. Like, it's just an evolving conversation in this market. And we've talked about this. It is next man up. Ultimately, I don't know if that's going to be James Reimer, but it's a bit of a patchwork job because I was going to come on here and talk about some potential waiver claims, whether it's Connor Ingram or Michael DiPietro. Capo Kakinen probably will be on waivers with the Montreal Canadiens, but they elect to go with somebody they know in James Reimer, and I don't see an issue with that at all. I think this is such an important position. Any team, it's so cliche. If you can't get saves, you can't get goaltending, you're going to be in big trouble. And I think they'd be the first to admit, too, that the back of their heads, like, Anthony Stolarz has never played a full season of being a number one guy. Like, he can't play every game. And I think they're realizing that here too.
Yeah, well, nobody really can. I mean, the days of Marty Brodeur playing 72 games in a season are long gone. And you want to save a guy. I mean, Stoli has been injured before, right? And so has Woll. So we kind of, you try to use them sparingly, but as the regular season comes down, every 2 points is worth the same now as it is in April. So it will be interesting to see. Again, I don't know how long Woll's going to be gone. Like, it's still 12 days. That's a good chunk of time to to be with your family and deal with personal matters. So I don't know if they're going to end up needing to make that decision by 12 days. I don't think anybody does, but I just like this move. It's a PTO. You can use him as you want, and he's sitting at home without a job, and he gets to come in and have that experience and that opportunity. And if they say, hey, thanks so much for your services, we're going to cut you loose on that PTO now, no harm, no foul, maybe he's in a better position to hook up with a National League team somewhere after that fact. So it could be good for all parties involved. And I like the idea of this rather than picking up another contract, picking up another body, having to deal with him and have him in as part of your organization moving forward, even though you may only need him for a week or something. So this PTO works wonders. I think it's a smart move, and it's lucky that he was available.
It's pretty crazy. JS reminds us Reimer has played for 8 different teams since he left. Like, think about that, Rosie.
Scattering, hey?
9 years.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like long ago that I was playing with him, and he went through that whirlwind like me, getting into the Maple Leafs organization and coming up from the Marlies, and he was playing damn good for a while and started his NHL career and his journey, and you watched it happen right in front of you. And since then, he has played a lot of games for a lot of different organizations and had a hell of a career. And he's at the age now where, you're kind of trying to figure out how you can stay in the league. And obviously for him at this point in time, this PTO with the Leafs is probably looked upon as a pretty damn good opportunity.
Daily Faceoff, as you're back with the brand new DFO Fantasy Draft Kit, your one-stop shop for everything you need to build the perfect fantasy hockey team. By the way, I had my Keeper League draft last night. Didn't have to take Marner. The guy in front of me took Marner, so I took Igor Shesterkin, and I'm really, really happy with that. We're talking player projections, updated line combinations, power play units, sleeper picks, bust warnings, and team previews. Head on over to dailyfaceoff.com/draft-kit and get your hands in the fantasy draft kit. Meantime, the Daily Faceoff Survivor Pool is officially live. It's a game of elimination strategy and a $2,500 grand prize for the last fan standing. Here's how it works. You start with 2 lives each round. You pick one winner from the slate of NHL games, but here's the twist. You can only use each team twice throughout the entire contest. The pool runs until there's just one person left standing, and that winner is the winner of $2,500. Sign up now at dailyfaceoff.com or hit the link in the show bio. Speaking of winners, we got our main man, Bruce Boudreau, coming up in about 15 minutes here, Rosie.
Yeah, it'll be fun to pick Gabby's brain a little bit. Seems like we haven't had him on in a while, but it'd be good to get his perspective on this lineup, some of the opportunities and some of the line combinations with the new guys. Talk about some of the players he knows, this goalie situation, all of it. He's got a ton of experience, so looking forward to that.
Bruce Boudreau again coming up at the Leafs Nation 401 here on YouTube. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. And again, as mentioned, this has been the theme in the preseason. The Maple Leafs ice like a Marlies roster, and they win convincingly. The latest into Montreal. Talk about Montreal smoked meat, a 7-2 win. But the big story, as you referenced, your former teammate Scott Laughton, have yourself a night. This is a Scott Laughton, folks, that we saw in Philadelphia. Again, you got to be careful. It's preseason, but he has 2-2 in that game. Lorentz has 2-1. They combined for 7 points. By the way, the lines at practice, Lorentz, Laughton, and Cowan still back together today.
Well, why wouldn't you? Why would you go away from that? I don't know. The Easton Cowan conversation, we talked about it on Wednesday. What's better for him? He's not a 4th-line player, right? He's been the star of junior hockey in many ways for his team, and he won the Memorial Cup, won the MVP of the Memorial Cup. So he's not slotted to be a 4th-line NHL player. That being said, the 4th line isn't what it was back in the day where you play 5 minutes and go out there and have 2 heavyweights on the line. They're going to be rolling the lines, and you look at the teams winning the Stanley Cup. They're well-rounded. You can play your 4th line in bigger minutes, and they have, much more capable players as far as, providing offense and playing with higher-end talent. So it's going to be a question, I think, if Cowan keeps playing the way he is it better for him to be on, say, that 4th line? Like, that right side is open. We talk about, right now, I'd say he looks as viable as a Nick Robertson or a Kalle Järnkrok to play there. And it's just going to be a decision on, is it better for his development as a young player who we want to have a long future with the Toronto Maple Leafs as a big time player on this roster? Is it better to have him on that fourth line playing in the NHL at the puck drop in 12 days? Or is it better to go down to the Marlies and be on the top line or whatever and start playing more of the role that you're used to? That'll be a decision they have to make. But if Cowan keeps, chemistry is what everyone's looking for. That's why they brought in some of these players that they did. We have yet to see Waugh and Michelli's in the mix and Dakota Joshua and these different players. And I think Cowan's in there too. And you're looking for chemistry, guys that just get it together. And with Laughton and Cowan and Stevie Lorenz's chemistry last night, that's a little bit of an eye opener. So I guess we keep tabs on it, keep our attitudes in check about it. It is preseason, but that was an honest roster they were playing against, and they had nothing but chemistry going on. So you got to take that into account for sure.
Man, the unique aspect too for Cowan is that he can play the power play and the second power play unit. How often we talked about that in the last decade, where it's like maybe a bit of a boost on PP2. There's just such a substantial drop off. So I like that aspect too, but I think it's the right approach to have the kid decide where he's going to play, and that if he plays well enough, then you give him a roster spot. It's pretty plain and simple. And so far, I think everything that's come out of the Maple Leafs camp, like he is getting a legitimate shot to make this team. And that's where it should be, whether it's on the fourth line or the first line. It does not matter. If you can give him experience and he's not dropping off and he's not a guy who's hurting you on the ice, then that's a positive. I just think you look at this Maple Leafs team, it's excellent that we're talking about the bottom six being competitive, man. Like how many years was there such a significant drop off from line 1 and 2, the core four, if you will, to the bottom six? I like that quietly. Craig Berube's starting to enforce and build the same type of roster with help, of course, from management that he had in St. Louis, where it's like we roll out you in waves. I don't care who's on my fourth line, my third line, my second line. I'll put Michelli on the first line. I'll put him on the third line. I love that aspect. You can speak to this. I think it makes it difficult to defend against when these lines come at you in waves and you don't know what to expect.
Yeah, and the teams that win, they seem so tight and they have this bond, and it's more likely to have that if there's less of a dispersion on the roles on the hockey team. Obviously, you got your stars and your first liners and your PP guys, and that's never going to change. But if the drop-off isn't so substantial, you all feel like you're contributing. And again, with that chemistry, maybe this third line is absolutely buzzing with McMahon having a night, few nights here now in the preseason.
Yeah.
You get that chemistry going, you roll in the lines and everyone's contributing, and it just gets this feeling of this team camaraderie. Like, holy shit, it doesn't matter what any other team does. We just bring our attitude and our roster and our lineup and our strategy to the game. Like no one can stop us. And you get this feeling and it just builds and builds and you become this really good, well-rounded hockey team. I think that is the MO here of trying to get away from, let's put all our eggs in 4 guys' basket and hopefully they win us the Stanley Cup. And it's never really worked like that. And I think the league's going even further away from that, where you need those guys further down, especially in your bottom 6. And by all accounts, bringing Berube in here with his philosophy and his history, the moves that Tree Living has made has pointed towards trying to build a team like that. And with reference to Easton Cowan, you talk about what's better for his development and whatnot. But if he continues to fire the way that he can, and he's contributing and he finds that chemistry with a line, it might be as simple as our hockey team as the Toronto Maple Leafs is better with Easton Cowan being on it, plain and simple. And it's very difficult for a young player to do that. And they're always going to be hesitant about not putting him in that position when he might not be ready to handle it. But if a player takes the reins and just goes with it, it might just speak for itself. And he'll decide himself with his play that, hey, I'm better for this team by being on the roster.
That's exactly it. And he sees the opportunity so far as Easton Cowan at the Leafs Nation 401. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Thank you to producer Vic for putting up this poll in the YouTube chat. Are you happy with the James Reimer PTO? A resounding 80% say yes right now. 20% say no. About 70 votes are in. I think you and I would both say yes on that front. They needed, a bit of a veteran. I mean, again, it's not like they tipped their hand either way as to what truly is going on, how much time a guy like Joseph Woll is going to miss, and you need some options out there, even in training camp. There's still 3 games to go here for the Maple Leafs, 1 more against Montreal, and then 2 against the Detroit Red Wings to wrap things up. You talk about a team mentality, man. I loved, it was a disastrous night, we'll say, for the Montreal Canadiens. You get lit up by the Marlies. That's always embarrassing on national TV. You lose Noah Dobson, who you pick up for a handful and a bit this summer, gets hurt in that game. And did you see that Cade Weber hit? Like, we haven't heard much from Cade Weber since I think he guested on this show. He's played with the Marlies, but he lights up Ivan Demidov out of all players. And just things you love to see. I mean, clean hit. Physical guy using his body. You love that.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I love to see it. There's a lot of things, as you mentioned, with different lineups and rosters and up and down the lineup, things so far that have looked good, and it's a good sign. But, I'm tentative, and I like to pump the brakes a little bit and be like, this is preseason. Like, oftentimes whatever happens in preseason is completely irrelevant once you get the regular season going. But I mean, that's all we have to go off of right now. So why not, raise your eyebrows and say, hey, I like what we see so far. We've started off on the right foot. There are teams that have started off the preseason on the wrong foot and are scrambling and wondering about this guy and moving this line around and trying to figure out how you're going to fix your deficiencies. And it's a lot better place to be when things are rolling a little bit. And, every time you turn your head, there's something positive to look at aside from the Joseph Woll thing. But, I can't think of too many negatives so far coming out of camp and preseason, and take it for what it's worth, but that's a good sign, I'd say.
Leaping Lanny Poffel writes in, Nick not going to mention VGK win, Marner 1 point, Eichel 2 goals. I will mention Matthias Michelli has 4 points in the first 2 games, a much cheaper option, and it seems like he's really buying into the plan here in Toronto. So I digress. Bruce Boudreau is coming up. I think you're right. It is the preseason. I love setting a tone. I love what the bottom 6 to me has been the big story. And I also wonder moving forward, like what the plan is. We haven't seen Anthony Stolarz in a game. We haven't seen Nicolas Waugh. We haven't seen Max Domi. Would you continue to wait? Because again, you're playing Montreal in the opener. You have them at home at Scotiabank Arena on Saturday. I think most teams have the tendency of playing their guys who are going to be in the lineup for home dates. What would you do, Rosie?
Yeah, I definitely like to see Waugh out there, just based on the fact that we haven't seen him in a Maple Leaf jersey yet, and I'd like to get eyeballs on him, and I'm sure I imagine he would be playing on Saturday. Get his legs going, get some game speed going. As far as Stoli, I imagine it's kind of up to him. Like, hey, Stoli, do you want to play Saturday night exhibition game against the Habs? And I'm sure he wants to get some reps in. He wants to get his angles and his timing down. So I would look for those guys to be playing. The one guy, Domi, he's probably coming off like a day-to-day injury. So they're probably just pumping the brakes, taking that day-to-day. I imagine that's different. But as far as the other two, I'd say get them in there and have a look at them. They've been waiting all summer for, some game action. I imagine they want to get some reps in.
Yeah, that's fair. At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as you bring in today's guest, a man who needs no introduction. It's the one and only Bruce Boudreau. Gabby, hope you had a fantastic summer. How are we feeling about this James Reimer PTO here in Toronto?
Well, it tells me that, okay, what's wrong with somebody? Usually at this late stage, you're not going out and getting a guy on a PTO when you already got your 2 goalies and you've signed your 3rd goalie. That's going to be your American League goalie. So, are we doing this as a favor to James? Or are we doing this so, he's been in our organization so we can showcase him for a little bit? But it's a little strange to me if nobody's hurt. And the reason I say that is because they're coming down to, I think, what do they have? 4 games left, preseason left?
3.
3. Well, you're going to goalies usually want at least 2 or 3 to play. And like Jay just said, to get their timing right, to feel good in the crease, to get assimilated. I mean, usually the first couple games, it's your minor league goalies, or if there's a junior draft goalie. So this one sounds a little bit like there's what else is going on. I don't want to make mountains out of molehills, but is everything okay with Wall and his family and everything because he took the leave? I don't have any idea of what that's all about. So it just tells me something might be on.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
I
and
wonder about. Like, does it tip the hand, Bruce? Does it tip the hand of the Maple Leafs if it's just like a PTO, right? Like, we know Wall's got a leave of absence. There's no timetable for his return. I think honestly, he kicks the can down the road. I don't think they have committed anything to Reimer. It's going to be 2 weeks, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I know, but okay. What a lot of NHL teams, they don't do that just to be friends. I mean, there's usually a thought process behind it, and so is the Wall thing a little longer than we anticipated? Is somebody hurt that we don't know about? Those are things that are questions until you know the answers. But I mean, as far as I know, Stolarz is healthy, and what's the goalie they used last night?
Hildeby.
He's Hildeby. He's their third goalie, and so I'm wondering, you wouldn't just sign Reimer to be a backup goalie in the American Hockey League. I don't think so. I mean, I just wonder what the real reason is.
So, Gabby, let's just say hypothetically, Wool is gone for a period of time where it runs into the regular season. Hildeby obviously is a viable option. He's their third guy. I don't think they had him slated to take any real NHL reps this year, barring an injury. But to bring in Reimer, say after the first 2 games Stoli plays, and you have to play one of those 2 goalies, Stolarz or their prospect in Hildeby. Sorry, James Reimer or their prospect in Hildeby. Who do you go with, the veteran on a PTO or your prospect who may or may not be ready?
Well, if it's the regular season, you can't play a guy that's on a PTO. He's got to be on an NHL contract. So it would either be he could be on an American League contract or an American League PTO, but he can't be on an NHL PTO. So I mean, it could be okay. Hildeby, you're going to be backing up, or we've seen you play before, and early on in the season, you're going to play again. He's had a decent camp, and let Reimer sort of play in the American League and get in shape. Like, I don't know what he's been doing since he didn't have a camp invitation anywhere else. It wasn't like he just got let go by some team and the Leafs are picking him up. So it's going to be interesting. But I would think that Hildeby would be the guy backing up if Wall can't start the season with them.
Gabby, are we getting a peek of what it's like to be an NHL coach on a daily basis? You just don't know which goalies are going to be there and which ones are not going to be there.
Hey, listen, you never know who's going to be there. When I was in Anaheim, I would come to practice and I'd look to see at the stalls and whose jersey's up, whose wasn't up. If Bob Murray had, if he would call a guy up and send a guy down, and I wouldn't have a clue who was there until I saw him the next day. So coaches always have an interesting life when they come to the rink every day.
Gabby, we were talking about Easton Cowan. Looks like that what you would assume could be the 4th line on the Maple Leafs were just hot as could be last night in the exhibition game. Granted, it is a preseason game, but with a prospect like that, he's 20 years old, being who he is and what he is and how they handle prospects the majority of the time in the NHL. Obviously, he can just play his way on to the 4th line on the right wing. There seems to be fairly up for grabs. Do you like the idea of him playing his way on and playing in a role that he's maybe not suited for if he makes the team better? Or do you like better idea of going down to the Marlies and developing a player like that a little more?
I'm all for going down to the Marlies. I mean, one of the rules that Bob Murray, I just sort of gave him a little cut up, but now I'll give him some praise here, is he was great at saying if you weren't going to play 12 minutes in the NHL on a game-to-game basis, you're going down to the minors, and you're going to develop down there by playing, 17 minutes plus. You're not getting anywhere sitting on the bench, and usually 4th lines, if the game is close or you're playing 8 minutes or less. Unfortunately, Jay, you would know that as well as anybody, but I would want him playing full minutes, being in important positions in with the Marlies if it was me, rather than playing a 4th line role up in Toronto.
Having said that, what would you want to see if you're Craig Berube to suggest, hey, this guy is ready to be and be in the bright lights of the NHL right away here?
Can he be a top 9 forward and play 12 to 15 minutes a night? I mean, if he can do that and you have the confidence and faith in him, yeah, we'd put him there. But I mean, this is a scorer, like we don't want to put him on a checking line. This guy's been, what did he score in 56 straight games last year in London or something like that? Or get a point in that. This guy, you don't want to pigeonhole him into a fourth line role. I want him playing important minutes in the AHL, first line power play. Let him kill penalties. Let him play in the last minute, and then grow him. And whether it takes a half a season or not, let's not force feed him and rush him into the spotlight right now in Toronto, where if after 20 games he's got 1 goal and 1 assist because he hasn't played enough, then you're killing the kid's confidence. So, I mean, to me, it's the idea of sending him down, unless you've got a top 9 role for him on a permanent basis, basically, is not the thing to do.
Yeah, moving up on the roster to that top line, obviously a spot there beside Matthew Nyes and Auston Matthews. I think it's kind of slated, and it looks to be possibly Matias Maccelli or Max Domi. Who do you think off the top of your head, and maybe what you've seen throughout preseason or camp, would be better suited for that position?
Well, to me, it's tough. I give you these answers. They may not be right. It's just my personal preferences, though. First 3 preseason games mean nothing to me. Nothing. You're playing your American League players, your top players. Probably not even playing. They may play the 3rd game. And so, I mean, I can't get anything out of that. So I think the top 6 role or the top 3 role in Toronto is going to be a top 2 role and with a rotating winger for the most part. They're going to try an awful lot of guys on that wing until they find somebody that can fit for the year. I don't know. We've seen Max Domi, like him. I don't know if he's suited for that role. I will say this, and I hope I'm wrong because I'm just seeing it from a distance and just giving you my opinion. But Maccelli, who's an offensive guy, sort of built along the lines of a poor man's Mitch Marner. They might try to squeeze him in there, but this is a guy that was being sat out in Utah. So if you're being sat out in Utah, and like his numbers have fallen so far off of his first 2 years of in Arizona as to his last 2 years in Utah, I don't know if he's capable of doing that. Then nothing against Matias. It's just that don't know if he's got the ability to all of a sudden play on a line with Matthew Nyes and Auston Matthews. I don't know if that's, you'd really be forcing it in there if you ask me, and doing it because you made a trade for him. So I'm not sure that that's going to be a fit. That's why I think it's going to be rotating wingers until you see something that absolutely works, or you get tired and say, hey, listen, let's just throw Nylander up there and then let's load the one line and play them 23 minutes a night and see what happens.
I was going to ask about that, the pros and cons. Like, we really haven't seen a hint of that yet, of maybe going with a stacked first line, if you will, with Nyes, Matthews, and Nylander. How would you play it?
Well, I think every coach wants balance. But you look at your roster and you take what you got to get. If you, I think Tavares needs a winger to score with. I think, and so you look at top 2 guys in each line, and that's where Nylander would fit better. But sometimes when you just load up one line and you don't believe the line 2, 3, and 4 can score, it's pretty easy for other teams to really focus on just checking the one line, and it makes it difficult to win games. I think and especially, we're nowhere near playoffs yet, but that's what in the playoffs, you need 4 lines to win. So, in the regular season, sometimes you need less, but you definitely need more than one line to win consistently.
Yeah, I want to ask a little further down the lineup about Dakota Joshua. I believe you had him in Vancouver. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about what we can expect from him? What's he good at, and what are some things that he could get better at?
Well, he's a big physical guy. He's going to hit a lot. I mean, he's not a great fighter. Even though when we first got him in Vancouver, I mean, we were looking to change the outlook of the fourth line because he'd been a career minor leaguer up till then in the St. Louis organization, and but he wasn't the tough guy that you're thinking that if you need a real tough guy, but he can play. He's got way better hand skills than you would think when you first got him. When the scouts were reading him off to me of what this guy's like, they didn't tell me he's got great anticipation. He's got really good hands. He can kill penalties. He's willing to do all of those little things. They were just saying he's a big physical forward, and that'll protect your players. And I think he still wants to do it. He's just not great at that part of the game. But I think he's, if you're looking for a physical wing, he can be it, and he can score goals. I think he's the kind of guy that makes the surprise plays, and he definitely goes to the front of the net, and he's difficult to move. And he's had the taste the last 3 years of the NHL. I think he wants to stay there, and I think he'll do what it takes in Toronto to be a good, tough third-line checking guy that can, and then probably put in 15 goals for the year. So I like him, and they got him at a good price. I mean, I know he had 3 years left, I think, in Van, but I think it's going to be a good fit for a Craig Berube type team.
I don't think we've talked since July 1 or early in the summer. Lots has happened specifically in this Atlantic Division. Even in the last couple of days, like watching the game last night, Dobson leaves. It doesn't sound like there's good news on Sasha Barkov. How do you size up the Maple Leafs right now when it comes to the Atlantic Division, Gabby?
Hey, listen, they came within one game of potentially winning the Stanley Cup. So, I mean, they're going to be right there. I mean, they lost Mitch. I think Mitch is an incredibly good player. So talent-wise, they didn't get better. They got Michelli and Dakota Joshua and Nick Waugh. That's not better than having Mitch Marner. But they might be a better team in the end. They certainly know they've gotten to the door. They've knocked on the door. Now it's time for them to kick down the door. I don't think they've gotten worse. Their defense is pretty well the same. They might be a little older. But I think Morgan Rielly's going to have a bounce-back year. And mainly because I think he's going to start off on the number one power play. And when a guy's used to doing that his whole life, and then all of a sudden he's totally taken off, and then his numbers decrease, and he starts to want to get the numbers better, and he starts doing things that he shouldn't be doing 5-on-5 to show that he can do them again, I think he'll be back to normal, and I think he'll be a better player. I think the Leafs are right there. They're as good as any team in the East right now, especially if Florida's going to have Tkachuk and Barkov, who looked pretty hurt when they took him off. I mean, he didn't look like he was coming back in another period or something. So, I mean, I hope it's not too bad. But those are two major players. They got great balance, but, boy, those are two major players if you've got injuries that are going to be out for a while.
Preseason will kill you. Just ask Montreal even last year, right? Losing Laine and Reinbacher in the same game. And there's just so many examples of that around the league on a yearly basis. Gabby, can't thank you enough. Great to see you. Hope you had a great summer. We'll talk soon, okay?
Absolutely. But that's why the NHL players don't like playing preseason. Because of that.
Next year.
They just want to make sure that I don't get hurt. And I'm good. And in the last preseason game, they turn it up and they play it. And I said, now I'm ready. Let's go. Right, Jay?
That's right. I had to play all of them, though, because I had a little different situation.
I know. You had a different role. And, hey, listen, as a coach, we'd sit there and go, okay, who do we – we'll put Jay in. We need somebody tough, physical there. He can play all the games. Yeah, let's put him in.
He's desperate.
All right.
Thanks, Gabby.
Talk to you guys later.
See you later. That's one of our faves here, at least when you take Bruce Boudreau, NHL head coach, loves his Toronto Maple Leafs, loves to chat about the Leafs. Great breakdowns. It's always good to get his perspective because he is a coach and has that mentality and has been around the game a long time, just how he would see the game. And it's the closest we'll get, being in Craig Berube's mind, if you will, right? To know what a coach is thinking at every given time.
Well, he just says what he thinks. And he's always got an opinion
Yeah.
based on his experience, and we're always happy to have it. It was interesting to me that he doesn't see the James Reimer PTO as that automatic of a thing as us. He didn't think it made as much sense as we do, which is interesting. I kind of messed that up too, thinking that he could play out the regular season on that PTO. He would have to be signed, which would add another layer of difficulty to it, obviously. But also with Easton Cowan, thinking that, look, you're not a fourth line guy. You're not going to play on the fourth line. The fourth line is supposed to do X, Y, and Z, and you need to be playing 12 to 15 minutes. So if you're not going to do that on the third line, then you're going to the Marlies. And I get that mentality. I dare call it more of an old school mentality, like a Brian Burke guy. It didn't matter if it was Bobby Ryan or Ryan Getzlaff or who's the other older guy? He's 40 when he was on the Oilers last year. He was coming up through Anaheim system as well. And it did not matter what you did. You were going to the minors to start your professional career, just for the seasoning. But also back then, the fourth line, like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, was completely different. And I don't know, I almost lean away from that, saying if you can gel with those two other guys, say it's Lawton and Lorenz, if you're gelling with them and you're producing and you're just simply making our team better, and that fourth line doesn't play 6 minutes anymore, they can play 10 minutes all night. And if Easton Cowan is making an impact and getting better and keeping his confidence, and the team is better, and you can roll those lines, I think he can play his way onto this roster in that role. And throughout the season, ups and downs, things happen all the time. Maybe he gets some time up on that third line and can get those 15 minutes a night. If he's capable of handling it. Again, things change in a hurry. He can start to slip and sputter and skid out a little bit. And then all of a sudden you're worried about his confidence and his development. So I understand that for sure. But I thought that was an interesting take from Gabby, as he's just saying, plain and simple, you make the third liner, you're not going to be on the team.
I couldn't agree more with you. Dare I call it a progressive way of thinking? But as we've brought up so many times, I have specifically, like, Berube likes a good fourth line. He likes a good first line. He likes depth. He likes coming at you in waves, doesn't care which line you play on. And I think if Easton Cowan's a guy who's on the fourth line, I think the goal is to play Easton Cowan. It's not like he's going to go out there and play 7 minutes a night. Like, imagine a world where you can rest some of the big boys and not have them play extreme minutes every night because you believe in your fourth line. Like, that's been the issue with the Maple Leafs. They haven't believed in their bottom six in years. I mean, they've had some good players, haven't been able to have that depth to be able to believe in them. And I think if you're bringing in a Cowan and you have Lorenz, Lawton, and Cowan as your fourth line, Lorenz has played third line in his career, bits and pieces, but specifically Lawton and Cowan, I don't view Lawton specifically as a fourth line player. Like, I think he was a second liner on the Philadelphia Flyers. Like, I think he's your 3C. Like, that's why you're always careful to number lines in 2025. But that's the way I view it. If Cowan shows he's good enough to be in this league, I think you put him in there, especially in this salary cap world. But I think especially having in mind that you're not going to play that fourth line like you would play a fourth line back in 2005, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. And, we asked about stacking that top line with Nylander on it. I just think that's a bad idea. All you're doing is putting all your eggs in that one basket. You're taking away from John Tavares and the depth that you can have in the top six with getting, substantial production from all six guys up there and pretty much just putting it in the hands of the top three. We know from experience watching this team that when you have all your eggs in the one basket and the lines below them aren't really contributing as much, you can't just throw them out there and bang, scoring chances out the ass. It's a momentum game. It's a progression game. And again, if you have that top line, you're going to shut them down and play them extra hard. So that's going to be difficult for the top line. Plus, the other lines aren't really capable of generating all that much. You're probably going to have some turnovers, some O's or some defensive zone time, and the momentum's going to be, putting you on your heels. It's just a recipe to have those games that we've seen in the playoffs where it's like, do something, someone get something going. And the way you do that nowadays is rolling lines and keeping consistent momentum and ozone shifts and coming at them wave on wave so that they're on their heels and they're scrambling. And I think spreading it out is a better way of doing it. I like, it's not 05, like you say, a fourth line who can play more minutes and have a little bit more talent on there, especially if it's gelling in a chemistry, situation where that's everything. Sometimes you put guys together you think are going to be phenomenal and it just doesn't work. They're going to the wrong places. They're not finding each other. They're not seeing each other. They're not feeling each other. And it's just not working. And that's just the nature of the game. Sometimes you throw three guys together and you're like, oh my God, it's like they've played together their whole lives and everyone's looking for that. So I think if you find it, even if it is with an Easton Cowan on the fourth line, you give it a pretty good look, especially if they continue on with that chemistry.
I tell you, Rosie, the preseason will get you a couple things in the wire right now. David Reinbacher, who I just talked about, got hurt last year. He's out for a month now with a broken finger for the Montreal Canadiens. And the bigger one, per Elliot Friedman, going to know more in the next 24 to 48 hours. But Panthers are bracing for the possibility of their captain, Alexander Barkov, could be lost for the season. That's already with Matthew Tkachuk missing 3 months.
And people are talking about, how are they going to beat the Panthers this year? And, you want it to be straight up and best on best, but, they've had some pretty good luck. I thought to myself, well, what if Bobrovsky just has a groin tear and then you lose him? The house of cards can come crumbling down for any team, but that includes the Florida Panthers. And yeah, the way Barkov went down there with his knee or hip, the inside of your knee is your MCL. That's usually a pretty easy fix, but man, he must have done some bloody damage for them to be considering that. And after watching the playoffs the last couple of years, we know how important Barkov is to that team. So we'll watch, but that'll be a massive blow with their leader being down for the entire season. Obviously, I guess we'll watch and see how that goes. And you never cheer for someone to be hurt or anything like that. But if the Florida Panthers go through some bad luck, it's only going to benefit the rest of the Atlantic Division, no question. And maybe they're due to go down some bumpy roads and have some adversity here, because by all accounts, it looks like they're staring at that right now.
How leafy would it be if Jack Roslovic signed with Florida, became a 30-goal scorer, and just fucking torched the Leafs on a daily basis?
Yeah, that would do something for sure. But I don't know. I look at this Leafs roster when they got rid of Marner and they brought in these players. It's for the hope that you can get a certain thing going with that roster and have this team mentality and have this depth spread out through the forward lineup. Again, I think our D and our goaltenders are pretty set, and we're happy with that. And we think that has what it takes to get to the promised land. It's just with that forward and the depth, and they never seem to have that team gel and that all on the same page and on their toes together, linking arms, let's fucking go. They never seem to have that, the Maple Leafs, through the Core 4 era. It was all like, all eyes on you guys, time to go. And then when it gets hard, they don't really dig in. They look around and wonder who's going to do it. And it's just been frustrating for Leafs fans. And, obviously it's still preseason, but I like the idea of this team coming together and all playing for Craig Berube and playing the same style, and it translating to really solid hockey that you can do for 82 games. And then who you are and you feel strong and you feel solid and you've got all your boxes checked and you're ready to fucking rock in the playoffs. Like, that is what they tried to do here in my mind with Tree Living and with Berube and with the additions that they've made and subtractions. And by all accounts, it looks pretty sharp. And I think there's a lot of potential for them to do exactly that. So I think reason to be excited in Leafs Nation here.
Hell yeah. Zelly Brain writes in, feel really bad for Barkov, Olympic year 2. Forgot about that. So he's unlikely to play for Finland, obviously. And Frank Sarvalli also putting out there that Barkov will be undergoing surgery for a right knee injury. Timeline for return to be determined. That's a monster loss for the Florida Panthers. In support of Sick Kids, John Gallagher, thank you so much for the super chat. He asks, where do you guys have Barkov? Top 10, top 5? I'd probably say like top 25, but he's a really integral player to that team. Like how often, how many years was he called the most underrated player in hockey? The only unfortunate part from the Maple Leafs perspective, they have that Anton Lundell guy, and it's like next man up, and it's like somebody goes down to the top 6. It's Lundell who's going to rise up, and next thing you know, he's going to be. They call him Baby Barkov for a reason.
Yeah, and I got Barkov in the top 12 players in
Yeah.
the league, just with maybe he's not winning all the trophies necessarily with the flash, but God, does he do everything right? And I think you've seen in the last couple of years of playoffs with how far they've gone. If you're paying attention and you're sifting through, the top numbers on the score sheet, you realize he does a lot for that team. And I think that's what it takes in the playoffs. And that team has proven it, to have a leader like him doing all the little things away from the puck. And throughout the entire course of the game, you can affect your will on it in so many different ways. That's massive. But yeah, the knee injury, the way it folded down inside of the knee, but man, to go under surgery, he obviously tore a lot more than his MCL. To even think about not being able to fix it in the next, what is it, like 8 months or 7-8 months, is
that's tough, man.
Man, it's not good look for them. But that's part of the game. That's part of the league. And maybe other people's misfortunes can be an opportunity for other teams, especially in that really difficult Atlantic division that we talk about all the time.
It scares me shitless knowing the Panthers are going to have cap space. I won't lie. Like, is Sidney Crosby going to be a Florida Panther soon? Like, it's a scary proposition, especially when you look at last year's deadline.
Circumvention, that's going to affect this
year. I think
year,
it's done. The LTIR shit's done, but
yeah.
it's still, you accrue cap space over time. Like,
because imagine they get someone that you're talking about, and then guess who's back from surgery? Guess who's all rehabbed up just in time for game 1? Here comes Barkov, and they're absolutely friggin' stacked as they already are. Like, that would start to really piss me off, because it has been a problem. So I'm glad they fixed it and they shoved it in before the new CBA comes into effect, which I think is the absolute right move.
Yeah, so my understanding, like, let's say Barkov, they're able to activate him before the playoffs. They'd have to have the necessary cap space to do it. You can't LTR that. So I think you'd find out a lot in what the moves the Florida Panthers make throughout the season, because I like that they've patched that up. It was your arch nemesis on this program was LTIR, and rightfully so. I mean, just look at what Florida did last year with not only Brad Marchand, but Seth Jones, a number 1 defenseman on the back end. But that is the latest, and we'll see what happens here with Jack Roslovic as well. Transitioning back to the Maple Leafs conversation, of note at practice today, I guess it's going to be Domi on that top line, or at least they want to look at it. Nyes, Matthews, Domi, McMahon, Tavares, Nylander, Joshua, Waugh, Michelli, your third line, then Lorenz, Lott, and Cowan. And then they got a fifth line. This team is so good. They got a fifth line, 2 guys on the fifth line playing left wing, Pezzetta, Robertson, Kampf, Yarncroke. It's even interesting, too, on Pezzetta. Remember how much was made of Michael Pezzetta being signed by the Maple Leafs? Like, he's not even going to sniff this roster. I'm sorry. I love the guy, but he's starting in the AHL.
Yeah, it sure looks that way. Going back, though, that's pretty interesting, the Michelli thing on the third line. I think that line could really bang and crash. And as Gabby mentioned, a guy like Dakota Joshua, they can play still. They have hands, and they're not going to turn the puck over, and they're not going to make boneheaded plays. And I don't know how Michelli, like, he's such a disher. You see him just, maybe he'll get in trouble by biting too much off and being a little bit too risky and making maybe a little bit of the low percentage plays, which you don't really want to see. But I still think he's better suited to be up higher in the lineup. But we'll see. Again, it's preseason. You're dicking around. You're giving Domi a look. As Gabby said, you're going to give multiple guys a look on that until you figure out what works. And again, I think you're just going to figure out after a few looks where's the chemistry at? Who looks like they are more comfortable playing with each other? Who looks like they're finding each other and finding the plays and making the right decisions and supporting the puck in the right ways? They'll come to that, and that's why they're messing around with it right now. And obviously yet to be seen what the roster is going to be, and even in the opening night roster is not necessarily what they're going to go forward with. So I think having options is a good thing, although we'd love to nail it down. It makes sense to get a look right now.
What kind of percentage would you put on David Kampf being on this team this year? I think it would be like 3% for me. I've watched him a couple times now in the preseason. He does nothing that excites you. I know he's known for his defensive game, but like, I I don't know where his job is coming from, because Nick Waugh 3C, Scotty Lotz is 4C. Guy's a winger. Like, I think the writing has to be on the wall, and that's my big wonder in the final 2 weeks of training camp. What happens with Robertson? Like, when's the arc of this Robertson drama, right? It's been like 5 years of Nick Robertson. Is he out? Is he in? Then there's camp. Then there's Yarncroke. Like, that's where my intrigue lies to wrap up camp. Obviously, health number one. Joseph Wall, what happens there? But like the influx of forwards, what do they do with these guys?
Well, I think Kampf is out, and I think there's 3 guys that are going to be vying for the final spot on that right wing of the fourth line, and I think that's Robertson, Yarncroke, and Cowan. And depending on what they decide with Cowan, I just really see Robertson, best case scenario, being the 13th forward who's going to pop in and out as the 12th forward now and then, and have a type of rotation going where, you'll fill in for some injuries or a rough game by Yarncroke or somebody. You jump in and get your 2 looks. And I don't think he flourishes necessarily in that situation, but sometimes when given an opportunity, he pops off, and then you give him too much of opportunity and he slides away. So maybe he will be able to be effective in that role. But yeah, there's a couple of guys on my mind, no question. David Kampf being one of them that I just don't see being on the roster at all.
No, I'm with you on that front. And as we talked about too on the Cowan front, I tend to agree with everything you're saying on Cowan. I think right now, and we're 3 games in 6 games here, he deserves to have a chance to at least make the team, and they're giving him that shot or even make the team. But I think it turns into a numbers game, and maximizing assets, if you will. That's the one thing we've learned from Brad Treliving. And because of a numbers game and the numbers standpoint, I wouldn't be shocked if he gets sent down before the year, or they try to find a way to have him on the roster, play a couple games, and then send him down. Because if you're Brad Treliving, best case scenario, you don't want to lose guys like Kampf and Yarncroke and Robertson for nothing. Like, you don't want to just dump them on waivers and that's all she wrote. Like, in a perfect world, you want to get some value or something in return, right?
Yeah, but I'm telling you, you put David Kampf on waivers with his contract, nobody's picking him up.
Yeah.
Like, nobody.
Yeah.
No one's he makes too much money and he doesn't do enough. And even if he made less money, I'm not thrilled with him being on. Like, maybe I'm a little bit too horned up about last night, but you have a fourth line that is like not just like scratching and clawing for every little positive, but they have it, and they're kind of cooking, and they're doing what is expected of them, and then some, where they're a value to your team and you're happy to put them out there, and they can be out there in the last minute of a period or whatever the situation calls for. They're capable. I'm looking for that, and I've never really seen that at David Kampf. I know he does good things and defend, blah blah blah, but it's just not dynamic enough. It's not strong enough. Nothing that
he's
he
fallen
does.
off.
Yeah, it's just you got to have a certain amount of strengths to be in the NHL. And while he's pretty good at kind of everything, he's not great at anything. And I just don't see him sticking around. I could see him being on waivers, and I think he'll very well go to the Marlies because no one's going to pick him up for those exact same reasons on top of what his contract looks like.
It's time now for the last call, brought to you by Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in on the game. Use code NATION. That's NATION, NATION. Must be 19 or older. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, visit ConnexOntario.ca. So a massive, massive win for the Blue Jays last night. 3 games left, trying to vie for the division here with the New York Yankees. The Yankees have to win outright, by the way, in the division, because the Jays have the tiebreaker. But anything you're looking at tonight, the Rays in town, they just always will scare the hell out of Blue Jays Nation, whether they're the worst team in baseball or the best team in baseball. But the Jays right now looked at as the heavy favorite. It's Shane Bieber, the ace, against Adrian Hauser of the Rays. Where are you looking for that one?
Well, I'll be honest.
You're a Ryder Cup guy. So I'm going to go. Sorry, I was thinking about that. I'm going to take the Blue Jays run line, risky proposition because they haven't been scoring runs. Maybe even the under in that game I would look at. Like, they're just not scoring. So maybe the under would be my bet at even money right now. But I know you want to talk some Ryder Cup.
Yeah, that sounds good. I could take that under 2 with them being favored. Got it. But yeah, Ryder Cup's what I was watching. I woke up early and started watching it. Once every 2 years, it's exciting. I've got my money on Europe, actually, and they got a commanding lead of the 4 matches this morning. They are up they've won 3 of them, so they're up 3 points to 1 here. But I would think that the U.S. is going to close that a little bit with the 4 ball, coming up in the afternoon. So maybe sprinkle on the Americans to tighten the lead a little bit here in the afternoon, as it's pretty exciting golf that happens only once every 2 years. But so far my bets for Europe are looking good. I'm thinking for a little bit of a bounce back from the Americans this afternoon, though.
I didn't realize it's once every 2 years, because it's been all the rage, the conversation and media here.
Yeah, it's huge, man. I mean, you watch it through the years, even back to like 2012, doesn't seem that long ago. You look at the crowds and the setups and the grandstands and the fanfare, it just wasn't what it is now. It is a massive, massive event, and it's such a huge deal to win on foreign soil, as they flip-flop every year. So you only play at home every 4 years. And to be in New York right now at Bethpage Black, a historic, difficult course, it's fun because the home team sets it up exactly the way they want it for the strengths of their team, and the other team has to play at the whims of the home crowd, and that's why it's very difficult to win on foreign soil. But I think that the Europeans have as good a chance this year as ever.
Do you realize next time we talk, we're going to be in single digits away from the season opener? On Monday, we'll be 9 days away from the opener.
I know, that's
Sick.
wild. It keeps going from taking a long time to being right here to take, because I thought, we just did 2 weeks away. Now it's still 12 days away. Nonetheless, it's it'll be here before we know it, and looking forward to single digits to look at only a minuscule amount of time before we can play for real. I'm really excited for opening night, to be honest with you.
I'm nervous, man. I just want to get these guys to opening night. You look around the league, like Barkov, man, like you don't know what can happen on a daily basis, shift by shift. Like that is such a imagine we were Florida right now. We're Panthers morning take, and like I understand it's different because they've won back-to-back cups and have been to a billion straight Stanley Cup finals. But you lose Barkov, man. That is the wind out of the sails before your season even starts, compounding with the fact that you're already without Matthew Tkachuk. They don't care. Maybe the wrong example, but you just don't know what's going to happen game by game. I just want to get these guys to the finish line. Call me old school. I'm playing Matthews maybe one more time. I'm playing Nylander maybe one more time of the 3 games, and then just chill out, rest up. Nylander, focus on your new YouTube channel. We'll see you October 8th against Montreal.
Yeah, I'm sure they're fine with that. Going back to the lines and rolling them. I mean, remember, Nylander loves ice time, like to try to really spread it out and give the guys a break. I mean, Matthews and Nylander want to play high minutes. They want their cookies too. Yeah. So be a bit of a balancing act from Chief, but you'd like to think that everyone is on board with whatever is good for the team is the direction they need to go. But nonetheless, I don't know. It's hockey, man. It's professional sports. People get hurt. You go through adversity. You have to deal with it. I mean, I worry every day that you're going to get hit by a bus, Nick, and then who's going to be in that chair for Leafs morning take?
Pretty easy, Zach Phillips. We got replacement options here, so I'm very replaceable.
Easy.
That didn't work out. Boom. Zach or producer Vic, anybody for that matter. Great stuff today. So as mentioned, we're back full bore October 6th. That's a Monday, 5 days a week. But next week, back with you with 3 more episodes, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Rosie, we're getting closer. Have a great weekend. I know, enjoy the Ryder Cup. If I'm the Maple Leafs, I'm not playing any of the big boys against Montreal at home on Saturday, but we'll be documenting that. And maybe the Jays come away with a division title this weekend too. Enjoy it, okay?
Yeah, baby. Looking forward to it. See you guys Monday.
Optimus Rhyme back in Toronto. You love to see it. Again, thank you to everybody in the chat at the Leafs Nation 401. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take, wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. Thank you to producer Vic. For Jay Rosehill, I'm Nick Alberga. We'll talk on Monday. Take care, everybody. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much.